Anyway.
Well, but Adam Driver, I heard that he got up during a morning show and just left because they had wanted to play a clip of him singing from Marriage Story, and that's in the film, and he did that.
I think that probably speaks to a bigger issue.
He said he couldn't. He said, I have trouble hearing myself, and I don't want to do that, so please don't do that. And they said they wouldn't, but then they played it, and he got up and left.
Okay, but
is it more that he felt they disrespected his wishes, and were trying to like fish for some reaction?
I feel like your take on his behavior is positive, or not you specifically, but
I'm empathizing with
someone's take on his behavior might be positive if they sort of like the guy, whereas if someone they like less, like who was the guy who was
I have a big banana boner for Adam Driver.
Who was the guy in
I'm only thinking of that because of Adventure Time, like Magic Man.
I'm not
he's not
even unpacking
yellow.
your comment. I'm just going
No,
forward.
Magic Man has a yellow suit, but his skin is green, but green grape boner doesn't sound the same.
I'm not familiar with the show, and I think it's just an uninteresting.
Well, just imagine a green alien who wears a yellow suit.
But who is the actor from
that kind of makes it sound like he's wearing like a
Who is the actor from Fantastic Four that people think is a douchebag? The Fantastic Four that no one saw and everyone made fun of.
The director?
No, and he was also in...
I think people thought the director was a douchebag.
He was also in Drumline. Not Drumline.
Are you thinking of Captain America?
No. What was the film where J.K. Simmons plays a drum instructor? He won an Oscar for it recently.
Oh, that dude.
Yeah.
What is his name?
Like
I know on Celibici they trash him whenever he's in the news.
If that dude gets up and does the same thing Adam Driver does, then everyone in the comments section of someplace like Celibici, which you just mentioned, has a negative take on it because they don't like him.
Your reputation precedes you. People are willing to give you a lot more leeway if you're pretty cool in most situations. Mm-hmm. You know, and Adam Driver probably takes himself a little too seriously. But I just sort of gleaned that from some of his... just interviews where he goes on and on, but he has a silly side too, and he seems to be a pretty nice guy, and he's a good actor, so I mean we can let him be a little bit
but don't
dramatic.
You think that is not mindful behavior? I mean, if I were in his position,
this is like a pillow.
What?
No, I just realized how that kind of like props your head up.
Okay. Well, don't do that because this is a visual podcast, and you don't want to alienate the. Just think of the camera.
They might be using pillows as well. They might be watching this on a plane, and they have one of those neck rolls.
Well, let's hope we're getting good views, and I endorse whatever position, above us. Whatever position they're in, as long as they're watching and they're liking and they're subscribing. Please do all of those things. I can't believe I'm asking that. I've seen
Why?
So many other people
Most
on
people
YouTube
ask
videos.
That.
I know
very
it's
successful YouTubers ask that every episode.
It's like
of
that's the first time those words have come out of my mouth, but I've heard it. I've heard
what
the same words.
What words do come out of your mouth very often?
I don't know, but what was I saying? Okay, we're talking about Adam Driver walking out of an interview, and I just mentioned I don't think that's conscientious behavior because if I were in his position, I'd say if I do that, then it's going to be on. The person who was organizing the
Maybe
interview.
He has anger issues,
and I'm placing in jeopardy the job of these people who are, I guess someone could say their stations are much lower than mine, and this is egotistical behavior because someone could get fired over this, and I'm just in a bad mood.
So you're saying, like on the meta level, he is not considering the little people involved in his ego
that's exactly
stroke.
what I'm saying. I mean, he could be uncomfortable, but once you reach that level of fame, it's just like royalty. You have to.
But he also
you have to wave to the crowd.
But he also might just
and give a handy here and there.
He might also just have a, it might just his anger was triggered, and maybe he's going through a time where he's having trouble controlling it in the moment.
If you're trying to excuse someone's behavior,
it could be just like a snap decision.
If someone is trying to excuse someone else's behavior, you know what phrase is not helpful? Well, maybe his anger was triggered. It's not a convincing argument.
For Mel Gibson, or who else? Crowe. What's his name? Russell Crowe.
Shit.
His new film looks so bad.
Okay, better cut that last part out. It was funny, but it's too hot.
It's really good. No, that's
anyway,
really good.
We're not just Mariah. You didn't just step on the lead. You got in a Panzer tank and rolled over the lead. Okay. The lead, in fact, is that we're going to do something a little bit different with this episode. You are going to witness two people with interesting chemistry.
You're setting it up in a very odd way.
Who may or may not have chemistry, comedic chemistry. We haven't decided yet.
We have some sort of strange chemistry. A strange brew, you might.
I'm getting
even
really
say.
uncomfortable because we're brother and sister. Please stop talking about our chemistry. This is not porn. I know that's every video on the front page of Pornhub. Let's not. Okay. We're going to react to a trailer. And because it's not a great time for movies, it's not a great time for great movie trailers. So we're going to have to settle on, we're going to have to pick some low-hanging fruit.
But I don't think this is that exactly.
I do.
This is something that a lot of people have a lot of... I feel like it's one of those things that people were convinced of its goodness when they were young and could be easily manipulated into such things. Like people who, maybe they grew up with the Beach Boys and it's just always represented something wonderful to them, even if some of the new agey ideology in the Beach Boys
I have a question for you in that exact
clashes
vein.
With their religious beliefs.
You agree there are two different things.
There are things that people give a pass to if it's nostalgic for them.
Let me outline two different things. Some people throw around the word classic, and there are certainly things that are actually classic, and there are other things that aren't classic that just a lot of people associate with being young and good times. Do you think Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, the first film, falls into the second category?
Actually, I think that it falls into the second category, but I've always felt like it shouldn't.
Like it's not Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
No, but it, to borrow a phrase from Roger Ebert, sorry.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry, Roger.
He was
that happened in bed
atheist.
too. I'm so sorry.
You just he was raised Catholic, but he was Robert Rodriguez Ebert.
To borrow a phrase from the
I don't think he ever
Roger Ebert.
Did Roger Ebert give a good review to a single one of Robert Rodriguez's films?
No, but he would say for many films such as that did the film do what it set out to do? Was it good in its genre?
I think he gave Spy Kids 3 stars. I can't believe I remember that.
Because Spy Kids they were very complete films, that series, for what it was trying to do in its genre.
No, I said Spy Kids, not the one with Sylvester Stallone. And yes, that happened.
You bash him too much.
Bash who?
Everybody does. Sylvester Stallone.
Okay,
He's not
that is a blood libel against me because...
For you, isn't he kind of in the same category as what's his name, Steven Seagal? He's
one of the only in celebrity impressions I do, but it's just a certain particular moment in his life, and I might as well do it here. You
have to explain it.
Yes, this is very tragic. It's not a laughing matter. He has a son called Sage Stallone, who I guess he wasn't a very...
And I like names like that. A lot of people don't.
He
Apple,
wasn't
Sage,
a very...
what was it?
He wasn't like a
airplane assistant.
He wasn't like a all-hands-on-deck sort of parent to Sage. So like a lot of Hollywood children, he kind of drifted off and got into drugs, and I think he eventually died of an overdose. But the impression I do of Stallone is when someone brings up...
Sorry, I have a runny nose.
Okay.
I'm apologizing
for
sniffing.
The context of this impression is that someone has prompted Stallone to make a comment about the passing of his son.
And I'm prompting you to give your take on that.
Okay. The context for the impression is that a reporter or someone in an interview has just said, is setting Stallone up to make a comment on the passing of his son, and this is Stallone's comeback. Yeah, I heard about that. How can you really find it funny? Because you've heard it 200 times from me. How can I even...
Because it's ridiculous.
It was really funny.
Anyone would say that. Like, you imagine him on a red carpet and someone mentions it, and it's like the first time he's heard that news.
Yes, explain the joke.
Yes. It's funny.
Okay, is the joke funny if it has to be explained? I think we don't really find it funny anymore because I've been doing it for a few years now.
But it became that anytime anybody said something like something they should have known that
insensitive.
It's they were insensitive about something they absolutely should have been all over and very affected by.
It's like our little in joke. Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, it's like the Jack Nicholson. I told him.
We've gone beyond. Okay, that's something else we have to explain, or maybe we don't. I mean, after
if you want to, you
just
don't
Google
have a choice. We're already deciding.
Google Jack Nicholson Heath Ledger. But we're not. We've rolled over the lead with the tank. Or you
decided just now.
We've rolled over the lead with the Panzer tank. Now we've stomped on it like a bum.
People are throwing bricks.
Don't do that to bums. Okay.
We love bums. We actually really love bums. When we were kids, that we had a great affection for hobos. Our mother used to make soup for them and give them blankets.
Is it like you're in a hostage situation buying time because help is coming, so you're trying to come up with every possible side story you possibly can before we can get to the actual
It would seem as though I don't want to see this, but no, we do. I'd just like to mention we love bums.
No, that was me signaling to you to stop talking about it.
No, but remember there was a bum in the woods that wanted us to bring him some of his stuff from the Salvation Army.
God. Is this how close I should have been the whole time?
Yes.
Yeah, the woods are one of the places homeless people can go. So
and wolves.
This is not unique.
Who beat up your trash can.
This is not unique to our childhood that there were bums in the woods anywhere in the world. It's like that's one of the top locations. Anywhere you go in the world, and you start asking people, where are the places here in your town or where you live where there are bums? The woods.
Don't most people avoid that though?
Avoid what?
Knowing that there are bums in the woods.
No, but
they're just like going to McDonald's and picking up the kids, and they're not thinking about bums in the woods.
But if you
or porn in the woods.
If you interviewed people,
why is there always porn in the woods?
If you interviewed people in line at McDonald's, they'd all know. Yeah, the bums are out in the woods. They have tents, and they do.
Yeah. That seems like a Radiohead song. Finding, what we did down by the river. In the weeds. Innocence Left Behind. I don't know. It just sounds like something Tom
Is it Radiohead, or is it like every band from that era? Is it like Blur? Is it Oasis?
But Radiohead is really the lead quarterback in that play. So
who sold more records, Radiohead or Oasis?
Probably Oasis, but they don't deserve it. And okay. I like Oasis.
It's officially taken us so far almost 17 minutes to attempting to announce what we're going to do with the episode.
Okay, without further ado.
Without further bullshitting. We're going to...
What about cow shitting? Does it always have to be about the bull?
That's like, what's that test? What's that test?
This is really
it's like a feminist test. They say, okay, does this movie pass this test? There are two female characters that have a conversation.
Little B, Big C.
Does the film contain two female characters who talk to each other and don't talk about a man? Have you heard about this test?
No.
It's like I don't forget the name of it.
Could it be the green grape boner test? Because I did explain. Magic Man is green, his skin, but he wears a yellow outfit, so I associate it with bananas, and then bananas with boners. But really, his boner would be green. So, but then the only thing I think of...
if his boner is green and he's a banana, does that mean he's never ripe?
He's not a banana. There are banana men in that are cloned in the Candy Kingdom, but he's not a banana. He's just a green man. He's just a green man who wears a yellow suit and a yellow hat.
So he's like the green version of the guy who overdosed on colloidal silver and turned blue.
Actually, yes, a little bit. Most of the characters are.
Like he got really into algae supplements and turned green.
That's kind of more like I never thought of it, but the The Ice King.
I think
He puts on a crown, turns blue, and sort of loses his mind, but he has powers. That's kind of what happened to the colloidal silver guy in his garage.
The colloidal silver guy passed. He's as dead as Bill Paxton.
Did it happen by the river? In the woods.
He's as dead as Alex Winter's career.
No, but that he could be. Okay, we're going there. Anyway, but the only thing I can think of with green skin is grapes, and that just doesn't work for boners. But it does if it's a lady boner. Do your boobs like tighten? I mean, I don't know.
I don't understand.
Maybe if you get breast implants, they become some sort of thing that you can use, almost weaponize.
It's like you're throwing letter blocks at my face, and I can't make a word with them. I don't know what you're trying to say.
I don't know what I'm trying to say, but just go on.
Okay.
We do need to get the show on the road.
This episode of Average Attention Span, we're going to do something a little bit... I can't say that again. We're going to be watching the trailer for Bill and Ted Face the Music.
At a drive-in in the woods with the bums and the wolves. In our minds.
Well, Bill and Ted's Face the Music is another one of those nostalgia reboots no one asked for.
I think a lot of people ask for it if you look on Reddit. They actually have a subreddit for this. It's called Bill and Ted's Excellent Subreddit.
I don't think there are wolves in Texas, Mariah.
What do we have? Coyotes? Well, that's a kind of wolf. I mean, you could just be poetic about it.
I'm sure there's some kind of person who knows whether or not there are woods in Texas, and
the people who are
wolves.
Searching for Bigfoot definitely know where the wolves in Texas might be.
And I'm sure to them this is just a head-slappingly stupid question. Are there wolves in Texas? But the answer isn't obvious to everyone. It's like one of those niche interests that only you know about.
I think they're more toward Colorado. So it's not, New Mexico and Texas, it's coyotes. I don't know if there are wolves in Oklahoma.
Well, Texas is bordered with Colorado, actually. Did you know that? So if there are wolves in Colorado, possibly there are some wolves in Texas.
In way up in the Panhandle.
Yes.
But mostly it's coyotes, which I think could pass for wolves. They're more like meth wolves.
So are people still
garbage can wolves?
Are people still into reacting, like people reacting?
I think so.
I've
seen
these kinds of videos
so
still
many.
Get to good numbers.
I saw a really interesting reaction video on what not to wear, where the person was a seamstress and she absolutely hated everything that the co-host did.
By good numbers, I mean like more than 30 people.
Yes, she's pretty. I think she has 10,000 followers.
No, I mean our video.
No one's watching this.
Shit.
This is our ego stroke.
Don't you think a reaction, the internet has sort of turned reacting into a weird commodity?
Yes.
That's watching other people react to things is like, and I feel like it became a commodity, and then it's been rapidly and exponentially devalued because there's so much of it now, billions of reactions.
It's like, I feel this way and very strongly about something, and I want to find other people and make sure that they feel the same, or
so it's
even more so.
You want to observe
They're
people.
going to say what I wish I could say.
People want our confirmation bias reinforced.
They're also hoping that they say something outrageous or funny that they can repeat to someone else.
Like if you see a video,
like that girl who was watching the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reboot, and she was like, "They're baby penises."
Yeah, you want to see, for something like that. You want to see someone ragging on it if it's something like that, or the Ghostbusters,
deep in your chest.
or if it's the Ghostbusters 2016 remake. You're going to expect, this is going to get roasted. You don't expect them to praise it. That would be like a switcheroo.
I guess you could praise something in a funny way.
Or if you see someone reacting to Led Zeppelin for the first time,
exciting.
Most people clicking on it
I would like that.
Those videos exist, and most people clicking on them are expecting a positive reaction. If someone said this is shit, it would probably be heavily downvoted. So there's
But
that
you'd also get a lot of
controversy.
reactions and a lot of people watching it.
But I think I don't
People
know
like
about
controversy.
that. Well, I think people make those videos because they know those Led Zeppelin fans are going to be searching for those videos and want to see people listening to it for the first time. So they have that in their back pocket.
Now that
while
I
they're
know
reacting.
this is happening, I want to go find it.
Or start your own React channel and just watch the money pour in.
Yeah, but I already kind of, I can't react to it as if it's the first time. It's just going to be me being very happy about it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other stuff you can react to for the first time.
Maybe. That remains
Don't you
to be
think
seen.
in the past, that's before the internet. That's why people went to like the bar. They look forward to going to the bar at the end of the week because they'd get those reactions from people telling stories and reacting to other people's
and
stories.
they want you to play a song that they can't remember, but it's it's slow and it's sweet. And I knew it
Cheers.
complete,
You're right, Cheers.
you know.
Where everybody
When
knows.
I
I know you're making a Billy Joel
Yeah.
reference, but I'm talking about Cheers. Where everyone knows
Just
your
go
name.
on.
Isn't that
Hands are that Cheers.
weren't the people going to Cheers bar?
He's still relevant. Ted Danson,
Okay.
The Good Place.
And he's
very
relevant
good in that.
right now because I'm talking about him.
So continue.
I
I'm
made
sorry.
him relevant because I started talking about the show he was most famous
Because you
for.
have power
The most-
to place relevance upon something.
The most interesting thing he's ever
You have
done.
crowned him with relevance.
If he'd never been in Cheers, he never would have gotten Getting Even with Dad with Macaulay Culkin. So that got him big gigs. He never would have gotten Made in America. He never would have, he never would have gotten with Whoopi Goldberg.
I'm sorry, I'm slurping and sniffling. I apologize.
But Cheers, the people went to Cheers in the show for reactions. It's like and then the reactions just compound. It's like I'm going to tell this person's story and they're going to react, and then someone else is going to come in and the story is going to be told to them, and then I'm going to
Cheers
react.
was a combination of like a sort of like being able to virtually go to a bar and be with a lot of people that you know and be comfortable, but also it was built up. The whole thing was built up on one-liners, just people, like you said, reacting.
Yeah, I'm trying to connect. I'm trying to find where people got their reactions before the internet and what the value of a react was before the internet.
Yeah, how did that work?
And I think it's been devalued and cheapened.
Well, now it's like crack cocaine. Like it's just before you could only have a little bit of that cookie.
Yeah.
Now you can have all the cookies and all the bakeries.
No, but with Cliff
People have kinda
Cliff
lost their
Clavin is telling a
minds.
great, beautiful story to the fat guy, and the fat guy is reacting. It's not like a cookie; it's like a feast.
And it's also like you were saying, if people can't just get this anywhere, they're forced to get it from outlets that were putting out something pretty decent.
Yes, and Cheers has
But now you can just
the
get
local bar
whatever.
has that exclusivity. You're getting reactions only a handful of other people are getting it. It can't be watched a million times.
Mm-hmm.
So you look forward to going to the bar at the end of the week to
Or
be
the
part
pub.
of that. The
That's
pub.
it's
the
pub
same
culture.
Thing. It's the same thing, right?
Well, that's where it came from, isn't it? Like
What?
pub culture.
Okay, but you can say that, but
And also German bars. What were they called? Any of the
what point are you making it? You can go how far back
countries
in...
that have a tradition of going and
No, but you
even
can
taking
just
children
string it
into-
all the way back to ancient Greece if you want. But what's the point?
Well,
This is
I
like
think in
this.
ancient
This is like
Greece it
this.
was a
Is
little
like
bit
this.
more X-rated.
What?
I don't think it was a family situation.
So you're saying Chris Hansen would tell them all to have a seat?
Yes,
Okay.
all the Greek pantheon. Yeah,
But
just sit your asses down.
I
You
think
strange motherfuckers.
okay. We're going to react to the new Bill and Ted trailer just because it's there, not because we're big fans of the
I
IP.
am a big fan.
Oh, you've only never talked about it in your entire life.
No, I used to talk about it a great deal back when I talked more about Led Zeppelin.
Mariah? I lived Biodome from 1996 to
No,
2004.
see,
That was
that's-
my life.
No, see, Biodome, connecting that to Bill and Ted is something a lot of people do, but actually the people who created Bill and Ted have nothing to do
Mariah,
with
I know
Biodome.
the first Bill and Ted, the second Bill and Ted
That's
movie
because Pauly
actually
Shore-
have some really high quality writing.
But also,
and I'm not denying
Pauly
that.
Shore originally auditioned for the part of Ted. So that's another reason a lot of people connect it. Like they think that
Did
he
you
was
just
still
learn that? Have you been reading like trivia?
Well, would it be a very different film? And I did just say I went on the subreddit. Would it be a really different film
Which
with
part
Pauly
did he audition
Shore?
for?
Keanu Reeves' part, Ted.
Oh yes, I think the Alex Winter role is the. I think.
Only thing he could have done.
I think it's the only role he could have cycled into while not damaging the end product
Is
too
it
much.
because even though
And he would have had to have been toned down because if
Keanu
you're
Reeves
just
himself is sort of more of a leading man, and Pauly Shore and Alex Winter really aren't. They're
Like-
more of a side character.
no, but beyond Alex Winter, Pauly Shore has this
Passive, more passive personalities.
Pauly Shore has this really obnoxious gear that Alex Winter can't get to, and you'd have to rein that in because you don't want to make a mess of the film.
Because
unless you
Alex
have something
Winter
like
doesn't have his quality of
whereas
sarcasm.
a Pauly Shore film like Son-in-Law is built around the mess.
Well, you know what it is. Pauly Shore.
It's like cat vomit. It's like
your
write
humor-
the film around the puddle of cat vomit instead of having a nice clean hallway and then the cat vomit just is unloaded.
If your humor is mostly based around sarcasm and you've seen it all, done it all, and you're just sort of observing life in this sort of jaded respect, I think that takes so much of the innocence of the characters that Bill and Ted are away.
Are you saying Pauly
what's
Shore's
good-
persona is based on sarcasm? Because I don't entirely agree.
I think a very jaded kind of sarcasm, like an observer of life.
I think it's extreme extroverted narcissism.
Okay, yes, that too. But the point is that it's not very innocent, his humor. It doesn't have this quality of just lightheartedness that the Bill and Ted characters have.
But I agree
I
with
think
you.
if you applied any of the jaded sarcasm and
There
narcissism
is-
that is inherent in Pauly Shore's humor
Jaded.
to either character.
I can get on board with calling him jaded, and I think that's because he grew up like in the comedy store, so he just grew up watching like fat, bloated comedians.
And
doing coke.
it's like I feel like our time on underground message boards as kids, it kind of skewed our view of the world. It wasn't a true view of the world, and it made us think that so much comedy, very dark humor was just okay. And you talk to people who didn't spend much time on the internet, and they were just like, what?
Yeah, whatever. Anyway.
But I think that's what happened to Pauly Shore. He was around all these comics, and they were probably very jaded and very dark. You know, very harsh kind of humor. And you just get used to it, and you think that's how all of life is.
So why didn't Alex Winter have
You're
more of
just
a
gonna ignore
career?
that. Yes, we should go on.
I'm asking you, why do you think Alex Winter didn't have a bigger career?
Maybe he just didn't want one. Maybe he had a bad experience on Lost Boys.
Of
Was
course,
that before or after Bill and Ted?
I think that was before Bill and Ted's. That would I hope it was before Bill and Ted's because I think it was such a
It was a small role.
it was such a small role with so little dialogue that it would have been a major step down.
But really,
from the
every
work.
character in that was sort of iconic and had their own look and feeling. I mean, they were very fully developed characters. Even the people getting eaten in the beginning of the film.
But I think it was just a troop of like oiled twink 80s vampires.
But they had names, and they all had very distinctive outfits.
That makes them distinct. They weren't anonymous. They were named.
I don't think they were anonymous. I think they really felt like some kind of, punk, like glam rock band that you could have gotten on board with.
I had spent a long time since I've seen it, but I can agree with that.
I think that they were very... Schumacher really fleshed those characters out, even if he put his stamp on every part of them. Maybe literally as well as figuratively. We don't know. The cards are not on the table for that one. We got to check in with we got to do a wellness check with Corey Feldman for that kind of
So a wellness
download.
check for Corey Feldman, but not for Joel Schumacher, who's much older than Corey Feldman.
No, I mean, we got to find out about Joel Schumacher.
No, it's
You
funny
know,
that you're like,
you
Joel
don't-
Schumacher is probably fine, but we need to check on Corey Feldman every few minutes to make sure he's still with us.
You don't need to check on him. He's going to let you know every few minutes. He's quite vocal about his situation.
But I think this just goes to show you only know a couple of films Alex Winter was in.
Yes.
So it just proves he had no career after Bill and Ted's.
Maybe he didn't want to have a career. Maybe
you
that
said
was
that.
enough for him.
But there are situations, you agree, where the performer wanted to have a career and it was denied them. And I think that's most situations where an actor just has these huge lapses.
So why do you think
lapses in
Keanu
their
Reeves was
filmography.
embraced and went forward and did many other things and Alex Winter didn't?
do you think that Keanu Reeves has more leading man qualities?
Well, I just said so.
I-
Alex
I-
Winter's a more passive character. He's
No,
clearly
you were
a
talking
side
about the
character.
characters, not what they could bring to the table as actors.
Well, who knows? That's what he brought to the table in those films.
Do you think Alex Winter could have played Mozart and Amadeus?
I want to say no, but who knows? I just don't feel like his acting quality was... But I don't think Keanu Reeves could have either. So that doesn't prove anything.
Well, Keanu Reeves very famously is not considered to be an actor with great range, but no one denies that he has presence and charisma and height.
So just that sort of Bruce Willis, I'm playing myself, presence and charisma, it worked for him.
And
he didn't have to be a great actor.
He's
but
like
Alex Winter had neither the charisma or the acting ability.
Keanu Reeves is like a sort of a cosmic surfer Clint Eastwood. Like he's the man of few words. He's super cool. He's like Spike Spiegel before Spike Spiegel. He had that chemistry, that vibe.
I don't know if I'm very precious about Spike Spiegel.
Don't be.
I feel like he's much deeper than that.
Don't be precious about a cartoon. Ever. Fucking ever.
I'm sorry. There are some cartoons that I really love. I think that they are works of art. No, Keanu Reeves had leading man qualities, and Alex Winter clearly had neither the charisma nor the acting talent to promote himself. I don't think it goes beyond that.
Because
I think it's a very easy to read situation. He's lovable in the parts he played, but he would have had to really pound the streets to put himself out there, whereas Keanu Reeves had sort of an easy street.
Well, are you reading the situation, or were you just guessing?
I just, he didn't have a lot of charisma in the parts he played. Maybe he would have in another part, but he just never got to the point where some people only get so many chances, and he had some pretty big chances. Those were big films. He could have, brought a little more to the table, but he didn't. So, I mean, it's on him.
You're saying Alex Winter could have brought more to the table in the Bill and Ted's movie.
But
as most people would probably say, those were perfectly played.
That he did.
Those were perfectly understood and played parts.
I feel like parts for Keanu Reeves that maybe Keanu Reeves was just, doing more films. Maybe that was a choice. Maybe Alex Winter just wasn't trying out for as many things. You really have to push yourself. You have to put yourself out there. And I feel like he did a lot of different things. Even if he didn't have great acting range, he was pushing himself to do a lot of different parts. And what comes to mind is I Love You to Death.
But Mariah,
he was very good in that. He's playing a stoner, yeah, but
Mariah, to do something with a part, you have to be offered a part.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe Alex Winter just wasn't going to as many auditions. Maybe he had a bad what do they have? They have managers or.
But if you're at that level, I promise you, he was going to auditions. It just didn't work.
Maybe he was doing crack cocaine, and he was just like, "Not today, dog." You don't know. He could have been like with the Anthony Kiedis lifestyle.
Or it's possible that he was in a lot of straight-to-video films. Like, he could have been...
No, it's getting sleazy.
No, I don't mean porn, but just I guess the Barbarian Brothers.
Redbox didn't really exist at that time.
Do you remember the Barbarian Brothers?
So, no.
There's like these bodybuilding twins that were in a series of like madcap comedies, but I don't think they got theatrical runs, or excuse me if they did.
I don't believe I recall this.
I think one of them's passed away recently, so that's
I would really like
sad.
to say that I'm not old enough, because that would look really good for me.
Oh, no, you're old enough. If you were around for the dawn of Van Damme, then
don't out us, Shannon.
We
just discovered Don Dom like last week.
And
he's really fucking cool.
As that sun was rising, it was casting a shadow across the plain, and in that shadow, the Barbarian Brothers were doing their own thing, and it just wasn't known to as many people.
Very, very. What was that other film that The guy who played Ducky in Pretty in Pink. What's his name? I'm trying to remember. And he was
John
also
Cryer.
in Two and a Half. John Cryer.
No, Dudes. If you're talking,
Dudes,
if you're talking
yes.
about Dudes that got a theatrical
I haven't
release,
seen that in a million years.
No. The Dudes would have been.
But it seems like a kind
Dudes
of
would have
quirkier
been
comedy
the
that's
biggest.
sort of in that slot.
The Barbarian Brothers would have killed a hobo to even get a small part in Dudes, compared to the kind of shit they were in.
Why are you bringing hobos into this?
Well, what do you want me to say? They'd kill a child?
I'm ready to bear down on this trailer.
So we've been talking about this for about 45 minutes, trying to set this up, but we're going to actually do it now.
Maybe.
If
Who
someone
knows what shenanigans might come into play.
if someone had never seen William Sadler
Naked in Die Hard 2.
or just seen him or heard of him, how would
In
you
Roswell, that WB show.
how would you describe William Sadler to someone who'd never seen him? And could you do it without comparing him to another actor?
Nasally voice, but sort of kind and calm. He has a sort of serenity about him. Sort of a passive expression. He's not an intense actor, but he is a good actor. I think he's good comedically. He has good comic timing. He's a slight man. You know, you could almost call him manorexic at times, but I think he's just really fit.
Did you say anything about him, though?
I think he'd be a good dad. Did he play a good government agent, like a scary kind of, hunting down the Wolverine sort of government agent in Die Hard? Or any of the films that he fulfilled that kind of role?
I don't think he was a government agent.
Or do you think he's
Die
a bit
Hard
too
2.
soft of a personality?
He was a terrorist in Die Hard 2. He wasn't a government
But
agent.
he was a general who had turned against the U.S. military. Had become a terrorist, but he was a military strategist.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think he's really tough enough to pull that off? Do you think he's a bit too soft and passive of a personality?
No,
that what he brought to the role was trying to be cold, but maybe was a little lacking?
No, I think he's... Oh, I was quite young when I first saw Die Hard 2, but I found him to be very scary.
But do you think our
crap
youth
out of me.
affected that?
No.
Like, things that aren't that scary were scarier
I think
at that time.
if you're young, it's like an even purer reading of evil.
Maybe.
Like, you're adult, as you grow older, you sometimes don't see evil as easily as you saw it
I know
when
it's
you were a
cliche,
child.
but Barney was pretty scary. Just people in suits, like the animatronic Barney the purple dinosaur, and the animatronic characters at Chuck E. Cheese. Those things were really scary. I didn't like them. Is that
Barney
like a fear of
isn't
robots?
from our childhood. We were grown people when Barney came around.
He still scared me.
Sorry, I'm outing you again.
Well, that's okay. I'm just saying maybe at any time Barney's a bit scary.
Yeah, Barney.
But okay, Chuck E. Cheese, that's
Barney
better.
came to prominence, I think, in the mid to late 90s, so we just missed the window on that. Barney's for like little children, more like 5-year-olds. We were way too old for that.
But, were those animatronic characters at Chuck E. Cheese scary? The way they moved.
Yeah, everyone.
And there was something called Dumbo's Circus that was kind of scary too.
But it's not Chuck
People
E.
in
Cheese.
suits.
It's Chuck E. Cheese, but it's also Showbiz Pizza.
Yes, and but also, what was Dumbo's Circus? Do you remember that? With the animal circus characters, it was people in suits, and it was kind of like, I don't know. There was
What
something
about
it just bothered me. They were
Okay.
kind of scary. I just remember being frightened of things like that, and maybe that's
Why?
because their faces didn't really move. Maybe it was like an uncanny valley thing, like a feeling of wrongness,
So you think it's something built into
like a
the
human trait,
human like consciousness,
like a biological thing that you're just reacting.
the way
to
we
like, what do you call it when it's a defensive reaction?
Well, we evolved to
A fear of something, that a
read.
trait.
It's like you're talking about Jane Goodall and chimps. It's like primates are evolved to read the expressions of other primates' faces, and so it's
like baring the teeth is actually, they don't see it as a smile.
Or
They see it
whatever
as an attack,
or
a
whatever
prelude to an attack.
whatever you like. But yeah,
Any way the wind blows.
that's a cool example. But when you look at a face and you expect the features to be moving,
and they don't. There's a quality of like otherworldliness.
and they don't. It's a figure with a humanoid figure moving around, sometimes very, very expressively. In the
It's
case
almost
of
like you're sensing
performer,
sickness, illness.
In the case of a performer who would have played those parts, they'd be moving around even more expressively than a normal person, because
Yes.
because if you can't express yourself through your face, you express yourself through your range of expressions. So they're have all of these exaggerated hand movements, yet the face has very limited movement.
Strange, unexpected movements, but the face not moving. You think of rabies, you think illness.
So a child doesn't think, "Oh, these are cool creatures who are here to help me." It's like on an animal.
Well, they're sensing more than thinking.
On an animal level, this is like a visitation from demons or Muppets in the middle of the night on public access.
Yes. The evil Muppets, which we should address at some point, because that seems to be something a
Don't
lot
you
of
think
people
the
experience.
Jim Henson Workshop?
Maybe that's a Mandela effect.
Do you think the Jim
thing, though.
Henson Workshop addressed some of these issues with the way they designed their puppets?
Sometimes. I mean, they definitely made them a bit goofy. The people...
They made them such...
The puppeteers were
so
very
they
engaging.
couldn't possibly be mistaken for humans, escaping some of that uncanny valley.
A stuffed animal feeling. And
huge googly eyes.
And they were very expressive the way they moved them. They had true artists behind those Muppets. Muppeteers. The Muppeteers were very... The Muppeteering was adept.
Jim Henson's Workshop also did an excellent job with Alex Winter and Keanu in the Bill and Ted's movies. Very, very lifelike movements.
You went for that.
Well, at one point we were going to watch the two...
It's like a vegan cheesecake made to look like an actual cartoon wheel of cheese with a melon baller. There's many levels to that deception.
Only Alex Winter can speak for himself. So we can't sit here and say he wanted a huge career and got bitch slapped back into working
and he's
as a video
on the
store
internet.
clerk.
They virtually visited the graduation of the not the hospital, high school featured in the film.
I didn't lay all my cards on the table. I've seen some podcast interviews with Alex Winter, and I know what he's been up to lately. I don't know whether or not he wanted to be a big star.
I am in shock, Shannon.
Okay, he didn't have leading man looks.
Is that what he brings
it
down to?
I'm
I
not
mean, so many
him.
people.
I don't have leading man looks, but Keanu Reeves just had that
and
presence.
He's taller.
He's taller, and he had that. Well, that's
but
not.
But many other people have used charisma.
I don't think height is that important. There's so many short men like Tom Cruise and George Clooney. I don't know what he might be short. He might not be.
It's mystery.
But Keanu's a little taller, and I think if you're too tall, it actually hurts you.
Yes, some people like Liam Neeson, like he was always a bit too tall until he got older. He had to find a niche.
I think on set it becomes at one point like a blocking issue if you're trying to set up shots. Anyway, but Alex Winter...
That's just the military dropping bombs.
He's not unattractive, but he doesn't have that it factor, like when Brad Pitt walks through the door and everyone knows that's the guy. Alex Winter obviously didn't have that.
Well, some of that could be down to just the perception of one's looks. You know, they start to get this feeling of a loss of confidence. Like, confidence is very important. And there are a lot of people who can overcome worse obstacles with confidence.
He's a smart guy, and he realized it at probably a young age. I'm not in the world of Marlon Brando. I'm in the world of Bob Balaban. But without the acting skills.
I don't know that that's so true. I'm sure that's what he thought. But, I mean, that could have been overcome, and I don't think he is...
Are you insulting Alex Winter or Bob Balaban?
Neither. I think that Alex Winter is a very good-looking guy. I think there was concern that he wasn't nerdy enough for the part. That he was too cool and too good-looking.
But he was cute. He wasn't like a
I can see that. There's a cuteness
He wasn't like
factor.
a strapping, like, leading man.
There's a boy band look to him that he could have worked with. He can blame it on whatever he wants, but all of these things can be overcome if you work a little harder.
No one
that's
wants,
not fair,
I'm just
but
saying,
that's
you get to
how
a
it
point,
is.
sprint where no one wants to look at like an atrophied boy band member.
But at what point did he begin to look, a little...
I think the second film. Too many tans, Mariah. It was California. Too many tans.
We didn't know about the sun.
They knew about the sun. This
care.
was not 1917. This was the late 80s and the early 90s.
I think people know more now with the internet. I think there's so many tutorials and...
If you go leathern at that point in history, it's your
Did you
choice.
just say leathern? Did you coin leathern? Leathern.
No, that's not my word. It's existed.
It's existed, but you just chose to like sort of bring it home, bring it into the spotlight. Whatever spotlight we have, weak and milky and dim, I don't know.
You talk about our spotlight like it's Betty Davis's vision in like 1981 when she was in that weird, creepy film.
It is at this point.
Watch Her in the Woods.
We're hoping to go backward Benjamin Button style with the Betty Davis thing and get her back to like now Voyager, height, like where she can see for miles like the Who.
Is this a metaphor for our podcast and its success?
Yes. We're going backwards.
So we're going from Watch Her in the Woods was a big film. We are nowhere near Watch Her in the Woods. How dare you? That was a Disney production.
I dare. Disney dared quite a bit.
What was that other film from around the same time that they remade with The Rock? Like Trouble on Stone.
Rock has been... I like
Trouble
Dwayne
in the
Johnson a
Mountain or
lot.
something.
But Journey to Witch Mountain or
Yes,
something like that. And
was Betty Davis in that?
No. Yes, they dug up her corpse, Shannon.
She would was there like a cartoon dragon in that one too?
I don't remember. I wasn't one of the characters the actress from
I think the cartoon
the
dragon was her
Scorsese
pet.
movie. What?
De Niro.
What?
He was in a Scorsese movie.
I haven't followed you.
You just said Scorsese movie.
I've actually found De Niro very boring in interviews. I think he's a great actor, but he just seems kind of like he doesn't have a lot to say about anything.
I've found him very boring in every way a person can be boring in and out of films. Weren't we going to watch the trailer to Bill and Ted Face the Music?
Why don't you introduce it? Because I don't think we have this entire time.
This is going to be an intro.
Fuck you. Okay.
G-rated.
Okay. No more shenanigans.
G-rated.
No more shenanigans. Although it'd be Mariahgans.
G-rated, Mariah. This is Ryan's world now. Okay.
It's not his world anymore. YouTube took that away. All that revenue's been canceled.
That's the creepiest shit I've ever seen.
It really is. No, there's some children's programming on YouTube if you fall down that rabbit hole. I think H3 helped me into it. It's very creepy. The Elsa and Anna videos.
When I was a kid, this is a tangent, but you remember Steven, like the Steven
Elsa and
Do you remember
Spider-Man.
Steven Park
I'm
Steven?
tired. Yeah, this is not something anyone will know.
Do
what
you
we're
remember?
Yes.
Well,
no, I'm not Betty Davis, Shannon. I remember.
You were not
our
You were
childhood.
not witness to this, but I was present for one of.
You think I'm going to remember aliens, but not Steven, a kid that we saw every weekend for years.
We didn't see him every weekend for years.
Didn't we? Wasn't it a couple of years? Our father, I think, was trying...
This was a boy who lived in a house down the street.
In a neighborhood our father lived in.
That he lived in temporarily. For probably only a year or a few months.
I remember him getting in an accident going skiing. He also had a divorced parent, and he went skiing with his father.
Mariah.
It was his mother that lived in the neighborhood.
These aren't...
And he came back in a full body cast.
Do you understand storytelling? You have to trim details. This is not helping the story, all of these details.
I feel like this is a mummy and I'm just flipping it. I'm just grabbing one of the ragged edges and just...
Okay, but you just
doing some
said
sort of
something
monster
totally
mash
wrong.
with
You said we saw him every weekend of our life for like years, and that's absolutely false. We probably collectively...
I said for a couple of years.
It wasn't even a couple of years, and it wasn't every weekend.
No, I'm pretty sure it was.
We probably
every other weekend.
Mariah, I would bet money that we never saw this person more than about 6 or 7 times in our entire life, and it was spread out. Probably over the course of a year. It was
I'm
just
sure
because
it was
he was
more
there.
than that.
I
It was just
seriously doubt it.
It was sporadic, but we saw him quite often
Don't
for a
bet
couple
your
of
money on it.
years.
But I was
We had a
at
little playhouse.
I was at one of his birthday parties, and I'm sure you weren't.
There were dinosaurs on the cake, weren't there?
I don't think you were at the party.
No, I think we were at the party at the park, and then you and he went back to his mom's house to play, and I went back with our father to his house.
What, are you the
with some of the
person
other
who
kids.
remembers my memories for me?
Yes.
Because I don't even remember those details. I remember at the party, his grandparents were
My
there.
memory is very vibrant.
And can I set this up?
Can you?
Okay.
Panzer me, Shannon. Just steamroll
Okay.
what I'm doing.
There was a boy named Steven that we saw occasionally because he lived in a house down the street from a place our dad lived. So when we were at our dad's house, we'd sometimes see Steven, and I was a witness to one of this very... the detail I haven't added yet, a very spoiled child. I was at one of his very spoiled birthday parties, and in attendance were his grandparents, who brought their gift for Stephen, and Stephen unwrapped the gift, and it was a very expensive model of a sailboat, I believe, like a schooner, like very nice, like, you know, they dropped about $70 on it, but he'd wanted a model of a sailboat, but he'd wanted a different one. They got the wrong one. So I watched this same child for the next 2 hours destroy the gift in his bedroom. Like literally smash it and destroy it. What was I talking about before this?
That sounds like there's a need for some therapy and counseling and, you know, figuring out how to explain to that child why that behavior is
I have
not
been a witness to highly
okay.
obnoxious, spoiled behavior in my
But,
life.
I mean, kids also do crazy things.
No.
Everybody's had a moment where they would just
I was the same
they would
age.
just
I was the
cringe
same
about
age
something they
as
did when
I
they
was
were
the
a
same
child.
age as him, and I remember distinctly realizing how ungrateful and horrible he was, and I felt sorry for his grandparents.
I know, and you came home. Well, our father's home. You came back, and my father wanted to go see some dogs down the street. Some dog of another neighbor had puppies, so we went with some friends of his who also lived in the neighborhood. And I was worried that you might come back, and I ran back to the house and saw you standing in the middle of the street, thinking that we'd left you because the doors were all locked.
What does this have to do with what I was saying?
Nothing. I'm just adding. It's just tapestry.
Was Stephen in the story?
No, but you must have just left the house, left Stephen, because that was not a great situation to be in.
Was this...
Because you came back early.
Okay, I don't remember any of this.
Anyway, are we actually going to introduce this trailer? It would be really funny if
No, I feel like
we just ended it.
you turn this into some painful like memories that I don't even remember. Like now I'm thinking about this, like, and I don't think it added to what I was saying. I don't even remember, and I don't now remember why I even brought Stephen up, but it was for a specific reason.
Spoiled children.
What were we talking about? Okay, yes, that was what I was going to say. I think Stephen is every child on YouTube unboxing things. Every time I see them, I just think of Stephen. It's just a spoiled brat. They don't, you know.
Well, I'm sure not all of them are that, and the parents are behind most of it. And you can't blame the child if this is something that the parents have gotten them into. It'd be kind of funny if at this point we just didn't even watch the trailer and just went to bed.
Okay. We're going to pause the trailer so we can remark on it, but every time I start it, I will say how many seconds or how many minutes into the trailer we are so you can watch along, because it's not going to be on screen. Does that sound like a good plan? So it can be like an interactive experience.
This is like when I used to watch old crappy movies on Hulu through AIM with my friends.
Mariah, save me from
We'd have a countdown.
Mariah, save me from one more tangent.
Okay.
If you go into the woods one more time,
I lack it in the woods.
I'm going to...
Did you know that Bill and Ted originally, it was supposed to be a van, not a phone booth? Fuck primitive radio gods. It was going to be a van, but maybe a van was just too... It didn't have...
Was this one of the other things on the trivia list you read right before this? podcast.
I told you there's a subreddit, and
Okay.
it's just ripe with this treasure.
This is the trailer on the IGN channel. It is 1 minute and 32 seconds long. You know,
A van would have been more realistic.
this reaction
Fitting all those people in.
this reaction is going into a time capsule. And what more do you want to pull out of a time capsule than a reaction to the trailer, the teaser trailer to Bill and Ted Face the Music, like 20 years from now?
How do they even explain what Bill and Ted is? I don't think we've adequately done that.
You know, it's been 30 years since the last film. 30 years.
Okay.
Just why? Anyway, let's watch it. It's at 0. It says Orion Pictures. I thought Orion Pictures went... I've just paused it. Didn't they go bankrupt? Or is that Canon Pictures? Or is it both of them? Because I feel like I haven't seen Orion since like the early 90s.
Maybe this is a goof. It's just nostalgia.
So there is...
It's what you saw last time, and it's what you need to see now.
So they're saying... So
Are
possibly...
there legal ramifications for that?
So possibly it's just a card, and
Repping
there
something
is
that's
no
already-
there is no Orion Pictures. It's just like saying Movie Rama, like it's just something from the past,
It's
just to get people in the
a
mood.
piece of high art that they're going to...
San Francisco,
no, fuck
Seattle.
that. No, Mage for the Brazilian UFO. They're gonna pick up some travelers.
Okay, just don't. Let's not confuse people. They're people. We're trying to get people thinking about good times in the late '80s in California and Bill and Ted, and they don't need to be thinking about aliens.
The roundness of the good earth.
In the name of George Carlin, let's actually watch this.
Oh no! You know, they said it was
Yeah,
they
he
wanted
died.
Sean Connery to play that part initially. They wanted someone a bit more serious. Can you imagine anyone else in that part?
Yeah, George Carlin's not that good. He's not a great actor. Have you seen like old clips of like The Weatherman? Yeah, that's Oscar material. Right?
But he brought a little something to it. I mean, this was not something that he needed to be an amazing actor.
I think
for.
he should have played Kane in
He
RoboCop
just had to be
2.
himself.
Do you remember that character?
Vaguely.
Looks like a drug addict.
Doesn't RoboCop seem like something William Sadler should have been in? Was he?
No,
Doesn't he have that feeling
You're
of like
just-
that sort of antiseptic sort of Aryan
I know.
proletariat?
You're just you're comparing him to the actor that plays RoboCop, Peter Weller.
There's something about both he and Peter Weller that gives you a feeling of sort of
Would you throw Ed Harris in there?
there were a lot of no.
Or
Ed
Too Much
Harris,
Humanity.
he has some fiery warmth, some Aries magnetism that just comes through no matter what he does. So, and it's an innocence too.
Where you don't.
There's just something about him that seems very naive.
And you think William Sadler and Peter Weller have that cold Aryan quality where
But not just
they could have pushed the button to release the gas with zero remorse.
yes, and not
And
just
Ed Harris would have had a moral
they have the
crisis.
feeling of those Swedish cooking videos that they play on PBS occasionally, where they're just like coolly slicing up the scuttlefish, and it's squirming, and they're like, oh, put some lemon juice on it, and it's like.
No, I haven't seen that.
But there's that
That
feeling
sounds
of like
terrible.
not connecting with humanity and
Jesus
empathy
Christ.
and feelings. There
Okay.
were a lot of villains
Explain.
like that in the 80s.
Okay, we are at 3 seconds.
I had to get that in. Our internet is not very good though, so this might be misleading. Oh, God. Wait. Oh, wait. This is
Okay.
terrible, but there's a Madame Tussauds feeling to this.
Okay,
What did they do to them? They don't look that way in pictures right now. I just saw them for
Ryan.
that commencement speech.
Leathern.
But it's like, did they make up them?
No, you were supposed to say
Did
Shannon.
they do the Nikki
wax.
tutorials full coverage and it just didn't work on their skin?
You know what it reminds me of? Whatever they did to Paul Rubens for the Pee-wee reboot from like a couple of years ago.
Yes, it's like they say, you're old, so we need to slap a lot of makeup on you. And then by the end, they just look like they've been embalmed.
Didn't they actually pull his skin back with clips?
There's something about it that's so creepy. Just let them be themselves.
Just let them be
They
old.
look younger without.
Oh, you know
the
what a
mask
terrible
of
example, a
makeup.
recent example of this is the Dumb and Dumber sequel, where they try to make Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels look like they looked in 1994, and they're older men now. They just don't look that way.
I mean, no matter how you've aged, whatever you are is what you are, and you should be cool with that.
I totally agree, Mariah, but what they're doing is
They're making them look like the robots at Chuck E. Cheese.
they're looking at the old footage and saying they need.
I'm getting a Chuck E. Cheese
They're looking
vibe.
at the old footage and they're saying they need to look like they looked in the last film as much as possible.
That bothers me. Why can't we move on? Why can't we have different new... You don't... Adventure Time lets the characters grow and change many, many times. They go backwards, they go forwards, they become an eel person
Like,
with
what
fins,
if-
but they're always themselves.
What if they revealed these characters and they were both fat guys now?
They did that with Thor, and I really liked that, and I heard that was Chris Hemsworth's
What if in the Destiny of Bill and Ted,
influence.
they just enjoyed food and they put on weight and they had gray beards and that's just what they
What
look
if they
like?
had just become ZZ Top?
What
Would
if
that
they
be
were-
okay?
What if they were roadies?
Yes. Any of this could have happened and would have been more original. I'm already judging it.
Like you look into the twinkling eyes of an older roadie and you're like, oh my God, that's Ted Theodore Logan. You used to be Ted Logan. And that was how the film started. It's like, well, let me tell my story.
Are they afraid that a lot of the younger audience members just won't go along with that? Because I think finally in this day and age, that doesn't matter as much. I really don't think that matters as much with YouTube.
You can already tell.
I see so many different characters gaining influence within the youth.
Did you catch in the first few seconds they said, you used to play sold-out stadiums and now you're working at bowling alleys? It's like they're doing that angle. Oh, they're down and out.
But they're trying desperately to make them look exactly like they
You're
looked in high
down
school.
and out, but you have maintained yourself impeccably.
There's something, and there's something about that is so creepy that they need to look like they looked in high school. Like high school is the be all and end all of the world. You can't peek beyond that, and we must not age beyond that. It's very bothersome. And I don't think that we're in a day and age where that it resonates with a lot of people, even young people. I feel like people want something a little strange, a little weird, a little different. They're like Bill Maher said, people usually cheat not because something is better, but because it's different. And I think we're in a day and age that we get so much thrown at us by the internet that we just want different.
If they look like...
We're no longer idolizing Cindy Crawford in a Pepsi commercial.
If they look like healthy expressions of their actual ages.
Or whatever they are. I mean, age is a number. You can look however you're going to look, but, just don't try to make it something that it's not. Do they have to look exactly like they looked in high school? I think that's a very old school idea of what we need to promote in a film.
Don't you think there are still a lot of people, even outside of this film, that try to look the way they looked in high school for as long as they can?
Tom Cruise, he's one of those people who still has this old school idea of what it needs to be. He just can't be himself. Mm-hmm. He needs to be a certain kind of leading man at all cost, and you get that comes across strongly in his films.
Okay.
He's putting his butthole on my phone.
Okay, we are at 27.
Just use his tail.
We are at 27 seconds, and I'm pushing play.
I feel like I'm at Chuck E. Cheese. Oh, there's William Sadler. Okay.
Wait.
I was wondering why he had changed his Twitter
Okay, I'm pausing it at 1 minute, 2
avatar
seconds.
to his
You say there's
Grim
William
Reaper.
Sadler, but if they just took some other guy and put the same makeup on him. would you know the difference?
I do think he has a very distinctive face. Are you saying if they took like the Swedish Chef?
No, I'm
not
saying
from
if they
the Muppets, but
I'm
from
saying
like
if they
that
took
PBS
Peter
show?
Weller and put white face paint on him, would you know the difference?
Maybe, maybe not. He has more of a lean face. And Peter Weller is much older, isn't he? Or did he age very well? Or is he dead? Where's his wellness check?
His wellerness check.
We need to go on Facebook and do a wellness check for Peter Weller.
It's like the wheel of misfortune.
It's a very sad wheel.
It's like, just spin it. It's like, how are we insulting you?
Vanna White is impassive. Also Vanna White, she has one of those sort of antiseptic personalities that somebody could be murdered next to her and she'd still smile.
She could release the gas at Auschwitz. She'd have no problem at all with it. No, I'm not saying I'm just for litigious, lawyerly reasons. I'm saying Vanna White is very concerned about all humanity's struggles and would never do such a thing.
We don't actually know, but
yeah, she might. She might do it.
She could.
Fuck it.
It will be in the realm of possibility. Anything is. But anyway, let's continue down this
it is
shitty
Vanna
rabbit hole.
White.
Let's spin this wheel,
it's
Shannon.
Vanna White power.
Oh, fuck you.
Okay.
Mainstream.
When I saw Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey,
this is what this is an old school idea, even Vanna White, of what people want. This beauty.
When they
queen
introduced
idea.
the character of Death in Bogus Journey, I thought, they've ripped off. There's very famously the Swedish Knight has a chess match with Death in what's the name of the film by Bergman. The Seventh Seal.
Yeah, we're talking. Okay, yes.
There's the Grim Reaper in the Seventh Seal, and
Are we talking about the one Demi Moore was in? Demi Moore.
No, Demi Moore isn't. She isn't on this road trip at any of its stops. She's not even a lot lizard at a truck stop on this journey. She's spinning around a pole with her silicone tits, which she was so proud of for striptease. I have no idea.
I think a lot of people are having them removed now. I think there was a craze for it, and now it's not as attractive or comfortable, I hear.
What room at Chuck E. Cheese was that in? Was that animatronic display? Whatever.
Wherever Natalie Portman was getting down on what's his name?
The ensemble of modification.
Who was that actor who was big very briefly, and everybody thought he was going to be a big leading man, but he just came to nothing?
Taylor Kitsch.
No. Yes. But no, the one in Closer. Who said, "I'm a caveman." And so he was.
He didn't come to nothing.
Didn't he?
Is he the guy from 300?
No. That's a Scottish actor who also sort of came to nothing.
Yeah, it's Clive Owen. I know who you're talking about. The Scottish actor is it doesn't matter.
I know it, but it's on the tip of my tongue. A very salty tip. But anyway.
Okay, Shannon, remember to edit the stuff out about Demi Moore's tits and shit.
It's the good vibrations
Mariah,
that they
we're
talked
not using
about
this
in the
channel
Beach Boys.
to peddle conspiracy theories. Stop. Put your phone here.
I want to do a conspiracy about the Beach Boys, though. How they prophesize some of this from their surfboards.
Okay, what was I going to say?
Rattling chains.
Seriously, what? But you, okay, I wanted to make a comment about
Got it out?
About Keanu Live.
God damn it.
Keanu Lives.
Government, stop interfering with our broadcast. No one's even watching.
You can help. Just touch stuff.
I helped. After it stopped.
Thank you, Michael Jackson. I help. You can help. Start touching.
Okay, let's do this because your
I wanted to make a comment about Keanu Reeves.
Charisma.
The way he was delivering those lines, and he was trying to sound like he sounded 30 years ago with the same character, but it just sounded sort of really rough, almost like Harrison Ford doing an impression of the character. Like, party on, dudes. Did you hear that?
No.
Like, I don't think he's in that space anymore. I think he was struggling channeling his his older character from 30 years ago. I just heard a little bit of struggle in his performance. I think it was easier for Winter, because Winter has probably been practicing for this.
Prepping for this his entire life.
You can't go
the bulk
from,
of his youth has been prepping for this.
You can't go
before
from
and after
to
the actual
Neo
films.
to John Wick and then back to this silly shit. I just don't think he's
I think
practiced for
if
it.
you, I think that you can if you're more of a flexible actor, but he's not. I think he actually fought against this imagery. He probably didn't like that people saw him as some sort of stoner
We're at 1
god.
minute 2 seconds and we're starting it again.
I'm not even sure what's happening. Why are they in prison? Is this like that one Star Trek film where they go to the prison planet?
Do you see what I'm saying about his
Did they also sort of dress them so that they would cover most of their skin so you'd see less of it?
No, when he's...
There's a feeling of them looking a bit stuffed and
Right.
the buttons are all the way up. What is that?
There are only so many places on a man's skin you can put a clothespin.
I'm just saying. Yes, and Jeff Bridges knows that.
No, but did you hear the way he...
But to talk about Jeff Bridges, he's not afraid to show whatever he looks like.
Okay, but listen to that. When he delivers the final line, it's a little on the dark side. Is that like Buffalo Bill or is it Ted Theodore Logan?
He had trouble finding the character again.
Do you hear what I'm talking about?
But maybe that's a little resistance because he did become a leading man. He did have great success. Even now with the internet fame, the meme fame, he's very iconic and he's worked hard to have that, to get away from the Bill and Ted imagery. And now he's going back to it because he's a good, affable guy. He's going to do it if they put it together. Why would he turn them down? But I think in his head, he doesn't really want to do it.
What if he means to do that and that's Keanu's version of character development? What if he's like, oh, maybe
Did he mean to do that in Much Ado About Nothing, playing the villain? Where he tried to do a transatlantic Shakespearean accent.
No, but what if he's saying maybe Ted is a smoker and that's just what his voice sounds like at this point?
But I don't think he delved that far into the character development. I doubt his commitment to that.
So you think just in the last few minutes, I've thought more about the character than he probably did?
Obviously, just like the
Alex
Book
Winters
of Eli,
hasn't
we
been
thought way more about how that would play out than anybody who was writing
about
it.
this character in the dark web for the last 10 years.
I don't know. He didn't come, okay, I'm sorry, Alex Winter. I didn't notice you so much as I noticed Keanu in this clip. Again, even if I'm being critical of Keanu's performance, I just, your eyes go to Keanu. You fall into the background. You are a passive personality. And that's okay. But maybe this just wasn't what you were meant to do with your life. And you should be glad that you were part of something so big.
But think about how many actors never get any kind of break.
Exactly. He should be proud that he had this at all.
Okay.
And that so many people are so nostalgic about it and embracing his character.
Most people who want to act don't get anything ever.
At all.
And
they end up, just doing whatever they can get.
It's like most people who play basketball don't get in the NBA. You can talk about the less
viral videos.
You can talk about someone like
theater.
AC Earl, who's like a lower tier player.
Am I too far away?
I don't know. You talk about someone like AC Earl, who's who didn't do much in the NBA, but he made it to the NBA. There's so many ballers out there who never got to the NBA. It's like Hollywood films.
I'm making that
too.
point as well. I'm saying he should be happy. He was so. He played such an iconic character.
It's like Chinese food. Pork two ways. Yeah. Point made two ways.
Can we say mock pork? I find that very offensive. But he's I feel like he should be satisfied that he played such a beloved character in such a large franchise, which obviously made a lot of money and brought him a lot of fame, because he doesn't really come across strongly. And I don't know if that's an accident.
So I ask you at the beginning. I ask you at the beginning of the podcast. About why Alex Winter didn't have a bigger career, and I felt like you didn't have an entirely solid answer then, but having seen the trailer now, I think you
I've had a lot of confirmation of things suspected.
I think your position has solidified, and so the teaser might have been the final piece of the puzzle for you. It's like,
something I was
stitching
stitching together the way Buffalo Bill stitched together those ladies' skin.
This is
I didn't have a full skin suit at the time, but I'm getting closer to putting the lotion on the skin. It's coming together.
So it's like you've
I've seen the light, like a snake handler in the darkness.
But you saw
the deep holler.
You saw what you needed to see.
I saw what was in the woodshed, and it actually wasn't that upsetting. It just wasn't anything I needed to see again. Does this make us not want to see the film? Because I think we really were fans of the films at one point. I think we got hyped about it for a little while, like we got hyped about, the Spurs winning the championship. It's something you could just... It's an infectious feeling when you see something that's pretty good and you really like it, but it wasn't so good that you're going to build any kind of fan base around it. Although obviously many people have. There's a subreddit.
Is this some sort of revelation you're having that? We are actually not interested in Bill and Ted Face the Music. I think before 1 day ago you didn't know the film existed.
No, I did, and I was mildly interested, but now I feel like that tiny interest has been stamped out.
But outside
of
the moments where I was reminded that this film was being made, I didn't spend much of my life thinking about Bill and Ted. So it's not this, it's not this revelation I have that I'm actually not that interested in this subject.
Well, but also, I feel like it is something that you could have had fondness for enough to go see it, or to at least see it from your home on Netflix. And now I might pass it by.
Oh, you will be watching it on Netflix.
I don't know. Entirely because of the treatment of it. I feel like they did not have a very hip treatment.
Look, it might come together.
Are you talking to me or Alex Winter?
You mean... No, no. I mean, he's not going to put together some sort of big film career at this point in his career.
So is he the guy at the bar who wants to hear the song from Billy Joel?
No, I'm sure he's had a very...
wild and crazy time.
I'm sure he's very satisfied with his career, and I'm not in a place to be critical of him in any way. With Bill and Ted Face the Music, I'm sure it might come together. Still, we've had such a small glimpse into the film. I mean, what can you tell from 1 minute 30 seconds? Apparently, judging by our reaction, you can tell everything. I'm sure you have a 100% certainty that you know exactly the kind of film it's going to be just by hearing a few of their lines delivered.
Well, you get the sense of the direction they took.
Is it like a big old roll of stinky cheese? It's like I only needed a nibble to know that I'm not going to like any of it. Is that what it's like?
I don't know if I like that comparison. It's more like it's just when somebody comes in with a very wrong idea for something and you just know that no, this is not appealing.
We've seen enough examples of similar attempts at reboots to see, this is not going to be a correction of any of the things those did wrong. This is just going to be another scalp.
But it's almost like with those films, because they were younger, they didn't really have those kinds of worries. And it's like when they did have those worries about they're older now, what do we do with that? Their reaction was to freak out and focus only on that, seemingly from what I saw. That we're just going to try really hard to find every way to make them exactly like they were in the previous films, and that's not natural, it's not organic, it's not believable.
In the last film, what path were they on? They were going to become literal gods that ruled over the universe.
Not just
whose music,
rock stars, but actual gods.
They were ascendant. They were going to be they
were going to do the Heaven's Gate thing.
Well, not that. I was
Not
going to say like
really.
more like Frieza,
Brain
like some
scratch.
sort of intergalactic gods that had all kinds of influence across the universe amongst many different planets, but in a positive way rather than a negative way, like Frieza. Not like a conquer with love rather than conquer with hate. But I guess they felt like if they'd started
More like Green Lantern. I don't know. I'm grasping.
Green Lantern.
Didn't they have a society that was very positive and helped other planets?
Talking about the Green Lantern lore
Yes.
is like the worst thing you could have ever done in your life. Not at this moment. Ever.
Ryan Reynolds knows that better than anyone.
Do you think Ryan Reynolds
Although
learned
he
any
did
of?
meet Blake Lively.
Do you
on
think
that.
Ryan Reynolds learned any of the Green Lantern lore going into the film?
I get the feeling that he's a bit passionate about what he does, so
Okay,
he would
forget
take a
him.
lot of things very seriously.
Forget Blake Lively. Forget Green Lantern. If they,
No one will ever forget what she did.
what did she do?
Sorry, I just realized I can't.
That seems like where the story was headed. But I guess if they felt like if they'd started this film that way, with Bill and Ted as being these seasoned elder gods, or not like gods, but like very influential figures in the galaxy.
They were supposed to become not Frieza, but Kami.
Well, forget that.
in a tower.
Forget Dragon Ball. Just sort of like eminent figures
Akira Toriyama's
known throughout the
crying.
universe who had figures who'd created a seminal work that was beloved, and the work was their body of music. Their music had essentially become the language of the galaxy, the known galaxy. If that had actually happened and that had played out, and that's where they were when this film started, I guess they felt like there wouldn't be a
What if the real catastrophe in the film was that their music had done something to
Hold
murder
on,
a lot of
Ryan.
different.
You're about to make a much more interesting film. Just in what you just said, that's already more interesting than anything we saw in the trailers. What if their music sucked?
No, not sucked. I mean,
No,
what if it was?
yes, sucked.
Wait, no.
What if what if they were in a decrepit state because the universe realized, wow, these guys aren't as good as we thought they were.
No. Even worse. It's just mediocre music, but it's not that bad. But the point is that it's mediocre to us, but to some other aliens on other planets, it was actually something that murdered, like massacred. What do you call it? Just decimated planets, and they killed a lot of like kids and stuff. It was like Anakin in the Sand People huts, something like that.
Or
What
no.
if their music caused mass genocide?
What if a very militant planet?
And those planets, the remnants of those planets, came back to fight them.
What if a Romulan militant planet that was pursuant of a genocide of the people around them found inspiration in their music a la Hitler and Wagner? It was like
That's
Wagner
even better.
became the soundtrack of the Third Reich.
Their music becomes the soundtrack to an evil alien race.
The music of these dope heads, these
Well, the whole premise is to take it in a
Inadvertently.
darker direction that they'd meant peace and love, but it had been misused.
That's fast. I think it's a great idea for a Bill and Ted's movie, but they were never going to do that because one of the
It's not safe.
one of the goal. It's not about safety.
This needs to be safe.
It's
It needs
about-
to be as
it's
much
not
like what
safety.
people were nostalgic about
It's
as
that
they
it
can
needs.
possibly
It,
make
it's
it.
that it needs to rhyme, like pottery, and they were going to come up with something that looked like the other films, and it wouldn't be too much of a departure. It was never going to be that brave.
Yes. But yes, that's part of it, that you can see that they
basically-
didn't really have an idea of what to do with it.
The
at
menu.
This point.
What is on the menu? What is being ordered hypothetically? Is it we would like a new fascinating adventure with these characters in a place they could possibly be going on what we know about them from the other two, or do we just want to have a nostalgic recreation of the earlier film people love with all of the same jokes with the same actors? It's the second thing.
But the point
That's
is
what's on
that,
the menu.
But they can't recreate what they did before because they're older and it's a different day and age.
You can say they can't, but
different
I think they've
audience.
tried to do that. Did you hear those jokes? Did those jokes sound new and fresh, or did they sound like jokes that were left on the cutting room in the first
And it's
films.
not that they're bad in the first
Oh, we
films,
can't
that
do
kind
that.
of humor. It's that
That's stealing, bro. Those are literally like jokes cut out of the first film.
Yeah, but I feel like they tried so hard to make it look like the old films that it had no feeling
Okay,
of
let's
its
be
own.
fair. We've only seen a minute and 30 seconds.
I don't need to see more.
Maybe it still has a lot to show us.
There's some hustle coming my way,
Possibly.
but I just hate that they had, the shirts covering as much of their bodies as possible, so you can't tell if they've gained a little
Isn't that
weight
how
or
they
their skin
dressed
has
in the
gotten a little.
first films? Very
more-
baggy clothing.
Yeah, no, but this feels very constrictive almost. It's not like loose, baggy clothing a la the 80s style. It's very, just everything is covered. It's, it's odd. Like, they're ashamed to show older bodies, and that's disturbing to me. I don't have a problem with that, but it seems like they do.
Did you want them in tank tops?
Why not? That actually would have been very brave and very interesting. I think that would have been great. Even if they totally let themselves go and it was shocking to the audiences, the difference in their previous characters, the teenagers they'd had in the film
Like,
before.
what if Bill and Ted were like
that still would have been interesting and got
employees-
people's attention.
employees at Guitar Center wearing like inappropriately tight roadie clothing?
Yes, like roadie clothing from like the My Chemical Romance era.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had gotten forward to that era and not gone beyond.
Like,
that would be
and their look could
awesome.
change. What if they both had like spiked Guy Fieri hair, because that was
Yes.
sort of like what was popular at the time?
Yes, it's sort of an all-star sort of smash mouth look.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be so.
But no,
good.
obviously in this film,
Mark McGrath.
they have to have the look they had in 1989. So they're saying their look was
Well, no, they didn't even do that.
their look was frozen in the early 90s.
They didn't even look like it. Looked like they were trying to make them look as young as possible, but also cover themselves as much as possible in a sort of like suburban
I
dad.
can show you the pictures.
kind of
I
way.
would bet money that they tried to recreate the hairstyles.
Yes, the hairstyles, and they've done something to their faces. It almost looks like, I would not be surprised to learn they'd use some sort of computer program to de-age them, because there's a little bit of an uncanny valley feeling.
Why not let Alex Winter be, bald?
That would be
Be
great.
bold. Be bold.
Yes, change their look entirely. I would love that. I would love them to just fuck with these characters. Give me something interesting. And because I think that's really what people on the internet want now. They see so much. It's not that they're looking for something better. They're looking for something to grab their attention in this cacophony or whatever of did I say that correctly?
Is it cacophony?
Cacophony of just things coming at you. There are so many interesting things to look at. You've got to do a little more to get my attention. Some guys that look like they've shown up at Walmart at 2 a.m. trying to get their kids, last minute, talent show, supplies together, and the soap their wife wants that they just ran out of. I mean, that just, in the neon lights of a, where I'm going with this. They just don't look very interesting. It's like they were so worried about them not looking like teenagers in the 80s and people reacting to that difference that they landed on, well, let's just make them nothing. Let's make them almost nothing. They will wear some plain clothes. We will button up to the chin. and have basically their same look, and we'll try to de-age them a little bit. Would they really have not grown or changed their style at all?
Yeah,
in all
if they
these
put
years?
a gold chain on Keanu, it would be almost like a cholo look with the button-up shirt.
That would have been more interesting. Go with that. I just feel like they failed. I like the actors. I like the old films. I just feel like they did not know what to do, and they dropped the ball. They played it safe and dropped the fucking ball. They're not talking about that triple.
Yeah, I agree. Don't watch it.